You ever wanted to play a Dracotor in your D&D game? Or how about a Rakshasa or Mothman? Well, like the previous videos in this series, we're going to take official races in D&D and see how we can reflavor them into something new to create unique options without even touching homebrew. Today, we're going over the settings shared with Magic the Gathering, diving into the worlds of RAVNICA, THEROS, and STRIXHAVEN. Hello Acolytes, welcome to the Cleric Corner. My name is Riker, and here we talk about all things Dungeons & Dragons, tapping into our higher powers to create worlds more unique and stories more impactful. Keep in mind, when it comes to flavoring races, we aren't changing mechanics, but putting on a new costume over a rule set skeleton. In the same way that we reflavor custom lineages from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we look at fully fleshed out races that often can be an even better option for your ideas. And where appropriate, I'll be using the updated racial options in Monsters of the Multiverse. But first, our sponsor for today's video, Phoenix Performance Coaching, a 100% online personalized health and lifestyle coaching specifically built for tabletop gamers. So you. Over a month ago, Jordan Yaklin, the head coach of the company, reached out to me and offered a complimentary trial through the program, and honestly, I'm incredibly thankful for it. With not only having TTRPGs and video games as hobbies, I am also constantly at the computer desk for work. This work. So it was really impressive how personalized the workouts became, with Jordan working with my schedule and goals for weight loss and muscle gain. And throughout the workout, I let him know about changes I wanted in my workouts or had to skip for some sick days. And changes were made that very day. It was amazing not only having a good report system and easy app to work with, but it really felt like I was talking to a friend that had my best interests in mind. Now, I focus on the workout side of things, but nutrition counseling is also available if you're just trying to eat better. So sign up today and your first month is completely risk-free. Feel good about your health and have the energy and mental clarity you need to run amazing games. Link below in the description. So starting with the world of Ravnica, a cityscape setting of factions and intrigue. And I really want to have a character creation guide on this one soon, so stay tuned. But the first race we will look at is the Centaur. You have a little bit higher walking speed and a hoof attack, and can make a bonus action attack with your hooves if you run up to someone. You have little difficulty climbing things for obvious reasons, but can carry large amounts being part pack animal and get a couple extra skill proficiencies. Now, reflavoring this set block, it's fun to learn of many more TARs in other editions and fantasy in general, where instead of the 4 horse legs that they get, it's something else with 4 legs. So you have Barriors, the half-goat creature with goat horns from Planescape. You could also have the Dracotor, essentially a dragonborn with an extra set of legs. Take a feat or spell to get a dragon's breath, and there you have it. A Wemmick is essentially the same concept, but with a lion, a humanoid lion torso with more of a lion on bottom. The Tlenkali adds even more legs with an insectoid centaur. Reflavor your hoof attack with a stinger attack. Another monstrosity could be a Gemstalker from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, created from a gem dragon killing an aberration. If you wanted to go the aberrational route, there are the Corophons, a nomadic group with the females most likely to become spellcasters, and then probably the most terrifying version of the centaur, a Nukalavi, an undead creature bent on stealing the fate of other creatures. But even though all of these are official in one edition or another, you can really go crazy with the type of centaur you are. Imagine a Giraffe-Centaur or an elephant one. What about a cow, a frog, or a wolf? What animal would you do? What if you're some sort of griffin centaur with the front legs of a bird and the back legs of a lion? Or a chimera with your head being a goat or dragon, torso being human, front legs being a lion, and back legs being a goat. Perhaps even your tail being a snake. But on to moving to another animal-inspired race, we have the Loxodon. Large elephant humanoids with prehensile trunk that you can use for mundane tasks. You also have a bonus to armor class with your thick skin and advantage against being charmed or frightened. And then you are also big enough to carry twice as normal and get advantage on survival and perception checks that rely on smell. The closest race in previous editions are the Loxo, with actually 2 trunks instead of 1. Mostly a hunter-gatherer race in Faerun. A fun alternate animal would be a tapir. Sure, their noses are a little smaller, but size doesn't matter, right? The trunk could also be reflavored as a prehensile tail. Obviously, this includes a number of monkeys, but also opossums, anteaters, and pangolins, among others. Other body parts that could also be prehensile is your feet, also including monkeys, but also raccoons and other Prechionidae. Animals with prehensile tongues are giraffes, and I could even see this being a fun chameleon character. You could also use this feature as additional limbs you may have, like a thrycreen, or just lean into the hulking animal aesthetic with a bison or a whale humanoid and use your mouth to pick things up, as many animals do. But bisons would also be a good reflavor for the Minotaur, our third and definitely not final animal race we will go over today. With this race, you will get a horn attack that you can use to push other creatures 5 feet away from you, or if you dash beforehand, you can attack with your horns as a bonus action. Another very thematic thing is that you always know which direction is north and have advantage on survival checks for navigation, alluding to their labyrinthian past. Let's start out with the animal head with horns, a very well-known feature of the Minotaur, but what if you were a goat, an elk, a deer, a rhino, a bighorn sheep, a wildebeest, or interestingly enough, a narwhal or a cassowary? But even if you didn't want horns, you could easily make it a bite or tusk attack and have your head be an alligator, a wolf, a pig, like Demon Slayer. This also reminds me of many of the Egyptian gods like Tauret or Bastet. But if you stick with just the bull head, why not take it from another monster like the Gorgon, your bull head being metallic? You also have the auroch, a dire moose, or even a catoblepas, or catoblepus, depending on if you're Matthew Mercer or not. I mean, who didn't switch around the heads of their action figures when they were younger? Oh, just me? Okay. But speaking of switching limbs around, now for the Simic Hybrid, the Build-A-Bear of all your parts made of fish creatures. Aside from dark vision, you also get extra parts at level 1 and 5 that gives you different abilities depending on what you pick. Your options are a part that gives you a glide, one that gives you a climbing speed, another that gives you a swimming speed, and ability to breathe underwater. At 5th level, you can choose a part to give you grappling claws with an unguarded attack, one that gives you a bonus to armor class, and another that gives you an acid spray attack, depending on what kind of limbs of animal creatures that you want to put onto yourself. Now, first of all, why limit yourself to fish parts though, as I've left out the name of these features on purpose? Splice yourself with any animal that fits with the features chosen. Give yourself a climbing speed with arms from a choker, or extra armor class from a displacer beast's skin. And these animal parts don't even have to be part of your body. Make them tools you make out of animal parts for an artificer feel. Just extra tools you've made for specific purposes. But if you really wanted to keep the water creature feel, perhaps take inspiration from other monsters and races from the water, including the aboleth spawn, also known as the scum, or the Eldani, a lobster folk that gives yourself claws. What about water dinosaurs from the Saurian race? Talking about older editions now, instead of having parts of animals and still being human, perhaps you just be the actual animal race. The mongrel folk is another creature that underwent magical transformations to take on physical traits of many different races, making them canonically unappealing in appearance. There is also the remade, who canonically were criminals, punished by replacing their limbs with parts that would advertise their crimes and possibly contribute more to society. But if you only want to focus on the glide ability, which is unique to this race alone until the Hadesy came out in Spelljammer, try reflavoring it to a Thanaton, a raccoon, monkey, flying squirrel hybrid. Or just be a number of animals that can glide, like a flying squirrel, a flying snake, sugar gliders, gliding lizards, or chickens. Next up, we look at the Vedelkin, a hairless blue race that is part amphibious. This gives you the ability to breathe underwater for up to an hour and advantage on wisdom, intelligence, and charisma saving throws. You also get a couple extra skill and tool proficiencies that you can add a d4 to whenever you roll. And if I'm being perfectly honest, there isn't too much additional reflavors for this one that hasn't been covered in other races that can do it better, but definitely gives you another option when it comes to amphibious creatures that are skill-based. Perhaps a nomadic, anthropomorphic salamander, axolotl, or frog, or go full water mammal with dolphinkin, orca, or beluga whale, or particularly aquatic animals or mammals like a walrus, seal, beavers, or otters. These last two are actually excellent with tools, so should fit really well with the Vedelkin's other features. But now we move on to the world of THEROS, an ancient Greek mythos-inspired world that gives us two additional races. The first being the Satyr, our lovable small fae that is all goat below the belt. Appropriately, they give you an extra jump distance and a ram attack. You also have advantage on saving throws against spells, and proficiencies in performance, persuasion, and a musical instrument. Easily reflavored into some other fake creatures, including the fawn, which are just another name for satyrs, really, but often more deer-like in the lower half, and less revelrous. Other fays, like Brownie, or even Valinor Hound, or a Yeth Hound, might be really fun, but this stat block could just be a start to your Bard class from any humanoid, coming from your training instead of by birth. Up next, we have another animal race with the Leonin, a powerful cat-like alternative to the Tabaxi race. You get dark vision, a claw attack, and an extra proficiency. You also get a roar attack that can frighten your enemy. Now, with a bunch of people complaining that we have 2 cat races and no dog races, actually this makes the perfect dog race. Just change your roar to a howl and live out your Doberman, Husky, Shiba Inu, or Pug dreams. Other fantasies call it the Cynocephali race, but Pathfinder gives it giant blood and a baboon-like face. Have fun with that, I guess. But speaking of blood, let's say that you stick with the Leonin, but your feline ancestors came from a Sphinx, the Chimera, or the Manticore. In my opinion, the 3 mythical cats, and you could be any race with the blood of these creatures. But what if your Leonin looked like a Displacer Beast or a Lion Drake with ancestors that have to do with those? Take some fiendish blood and either come from or be a Rakshasa. Take some extra spells and make your hands backwards. Give yourself a creative reason why you're here adventuring with other creatures. But even if you stick with the normal cat aesthetic, other than the lion, you could also be a panther, a jaguar, a tiger, a cheetah, a puma. Leave the house cats for the tabaxi. Next, we move on to the world of Strixhaven, a magical school with broomsticks and houses. This one gave us the Owlin race, and I covered a lot of the bird reflavors to the Aarakocra when I went over Monsters of the Multiverse in another video, but the Owlin gives us a race that has superior dark vision and proficiency in stealth, with the flying speed we are accustomed to. This opens up many other stealthier options for birdfolk, including the Any Owl race, of course, frogmouse, and nighthawks. It also covers other flying nocturnal animals like the bat or even a moth. Be a humanoid version of any of these animals, so yeah, Mothman. But we can also pull from previous editions with races including the Gloaming, a Shadowfell creature with shadow wings and shadow magic. You can take inspiration from the Dragonlance race of Draconians, some of them, and like before, you can make up a breath attack elsewhere. This can also work with a gargoyle perched in the churches at night. Give the gargoyle demon blood and you have a Navasu, hungry for souls. But speaking of demons, this may be also a good foundation for a succubi or incubi. Take some of your charming abilities elsewhere and you're set. And then get some levels in Echo Knight to be a Burbalang. But all in all, you can have these baseline stats to an Artificer Rogue subclass with a sneaky mechanical wings. No, not like Batman. Okay, just like Batman. And I mentioned this one before, but you could also work with a Tressin, because cats are pretty stealthy, and also they are very awesome. But with all of these reflavors, make sure to work with your DM to make sure that all of these fit the setting at hand. And if you come up with other reflavors in fantasy or folklore, let me know in the comments below. If you want to check out my other race reflavors, check out this playlist here. But in the meantime, go out there and spread the good word of D&D and make the world a better place, both on and off the table. See you in the next one.